This video is sponsored by absolutely nothing. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Sonic 2 movie review. I know a lot of you are probably new to the channel here, so I'll just give a real quick, where do I stand? Just before I do, I'll do a spoiler-free review, and then I'll do one with spoilers for those of you who have or have not seen it, I suppose. But I did want to iterate real quick because I'm a smaller channel for people who might be new here. I am a huge Sonic fan. Obviously, I got the jacket on. Sonic's all over it. Huge Sonic fan. Sonic is one of a couple of game franchises that, while not always perfect, mean more to me than any other game franchises, So I wanted to give my thoughts. I know some people were looking to see what I had to think, because this was kind of, not that my friends also don't love Sonic, but, in some ways they might see it as like, this is his movie, this is, one of his babies kind of thing. So, just wanted to throw that out there. I am a huge Sonic fan, so if there's any kind of bias or whatever. But I'm going to try my best to be fair. I'll try to give both points of view. I'm going to have this little classic Sonic up here in the top left right now. I think you should be able to see him right there. That means we're doing the spoiler-free review. When I move this little dude over to the top right, that is when we will go with spoilers. So for people who are maybe skipping through, or you want to skip to that part of the video, whatever. So let me back him up, and we're going to start with the spoiler-free review. What are my first thoughts? It's pretty good. I'm not going to give numbers, by the way. I don't, maybe at the end, but I'm not big on the whole, is it an 8 out of 10? Like, I just listen to what I say about it, and you determine whether you kind of, it's pretty good. It's got some flaws, Obviously, you're just like, okay, that's not saying much. Well, obviously, I'll get into it here, but it's great for Sonic fans, I think. I think Sonic fans, generally speaking, are really going to like this movie. If you look at the, audience score right now, it's almost 100% on Metacritic, which is ridiculous. And the critic score is somewhere in the 60s, which was similar to what the first one, kind of went through. I think if you're just any average moviegoer, you'll generally speaking, people are going to think it's good. They might be confused about a lot of things. And watching this movie as a Sonic fan, I do understand, like, now that I've given it 24 hours to sit, because I saw it yesterday, there was some things that I was like, yeah, if I didn't know anything about Sonic, I would not have realized what the fuck they were talking about, right? So, overall, it's pretty good. We'll kind of go through the characters here, maybe some of the improvements and stuff. Sonic has a great dynamic with, his family. Tom, I can't even think of their last name. Nobody can remember the last name. And then, Tails, who obviously shows up in this one. He's in the trailers and whatnot. He has a great dynamic with them right away. Sonic had a pretty good dynamic with them in the first movie, too. But obviously the connection with him and Tails, it's pretty spot on right away. You love it. There's a lot more of the Sonic characters in this one, a lot less human stuff. One of the things that the critics in the audience are probably going to disagree on a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of a Godzilla King of the Monsters scenario there. But, overall, I actually like the human stuff they did. There's some of the human things that were not only bad, or I don't know if maybe bad's too harsh of a term, just not, we'll say bad. We'll get a little blunt. Not only were they bad, downright unnecessary, and I'll explain more of that when we get to the spoiler section. Knuckles is decent. I know I might have a little bit of a hot take. I'm not really sure. Knuckles is my favorite Sonic character. So, I know that they've been kind of doing, ever since Sonic Boom, the kind of dumb Knuckles thing. People are like, oh, he looks so serious in this one, blah, blah, blah. When you watch the trailers, is he serious? Well, he is. He's not dumb, but they made him, because they made him kind of like a tribal, you can kind of hear that in Idris Elba's voice, and stuff. He kind of has this like tribal thing going on with him. He's dumb in the Goku kind of way, in that he's not actually stupid. He just doesn't understand certain cultures and things. And again, we'll get into that more with the spoiler review. That being said, is he done bad? No, not at all. He's still great. This isn't my favorite iteration of Knuckles. He's not gonna be like the version maybe you knew with like Sonic X or even Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Also, on that note, Idris Elba's performance, it is one thing that me and the critics probably agree on. It's okay. I think his actual voice is fine. I know a lot of these characters are going to sound a little different from the games, except for Tails, whose Colleen is phenomenal, probably the best voice in the show, in the movie, actually. Why don't they just take the characters, the actors from the games? I wish they did. And actresses, I guess, in this case. That being said, I understand Idris Elba. He's a big name, right? His voice is great for Knuckles. I just think a lot of the acting felt like I don't want to say he was phoning it in, because he might not have been trying to. I don't know what his previous like voice acting experience is. I just know people love him as an actor. Maybe he's generally not seen as a great voice actor. I don't know. I didn't love it. There's a lot of times where he just feels like he's reading lines. Eggman, obviously, Robotnik, he's back. Jim Carrey. Again, kind of like the first movie. Is he anything like the Eggman from the games? No. Is he still wildly entertaining? Yeah, it's Jim Carrey. He's funny. I mean, there's a lot of scenes where it should be cringy, and maybe even it is, but it's Jim Carrey. Like, he can just turn cringe into comedy. He's so good at that. There was still some moments that were like not funny and just straight up cringe, but he did his thing. He did the Jim Carrey thing. Sometimes it was a little too much, and what I mean is like, not so much it was too much, it was like too often. It was almost like he was just constantly in that goofy character, even later in the movie when things are getting serious. Again, we'll get into that in the spoiler section. Before I mention my last 2 points, I got notes here, by the way, if you're wondering, is he looking down at his... No, I got some notes. The plot is pretty solid. It's, it's loosely based off the games, but not loose enough that Sonic fans would be offended by it. Everything in this movie, that's, when it comes to Eggman, Knuckles, the plot, everything in this movie that might deviate from Sonic a little bit is still done respectably. It's not taken as a joke unless they're literally making jokes. But they do everything pretty darn respectably. Nothing is offensive to Sonic fans. It shouldn't be, nothing that I can think of. Plot's pretty solid. They kind of connect Sonic and Knuckles' past a little bit. They give an explanation for why Tails shows up, like what his reason, all that stuff. There are some things that, in regards, actually, on that note, in regards to Sonic and Knuckles' past, they say it and then it kind of doesn't amount to anything. Again, get into that in the spoiler section. There are the human scenes too. I can't remember if I mentioned that. I'll reiterate if I did. I don't think I did. The humans, because people are like, well, there's, it's one thing the critics and the people watching this movie probably disagree on a little bit. There is less human stuff, at least by ratio. I'm not sure the total runtime of human scenes, but because this is a longer movie, by ratio, there's definitely like way less human stuff. That being said, I actually liked a lot of the human stuff. There's just 1 or 2 particular scenes late in the movie that are, I think most people are going to agree, universally the weakest part of the movie. But Tom, from the first movie, James Marshall's character and his wife have a great connection, especially Tom, with Sonic himself. We've seen stories where Sonic has good connections with humans and stuff. And there's a lot of, by the way, Sonic references, just different little things. I don't want to spoil those. Not yet. Again, I'll try to remember, some of them you can see in the trailer. There's the Sonic jumping off the building. This is very much like a Sonic Adventure 1, the beginning of the game kind of reference. I think that might be everything. Yeah, and my last note, background lore, good, but could use some stronger explanation for sure. So I know that wasn't much for spoiler-free review. You're probably not going to get much out of me in that regard that you couldn't get out of other critics, but just so, if you're a Sonic fan, you'll probably like it. If you're like, unless you're like super duper picky about and keep in mind, this is coming from somebody, I've played and experienced every Sonic show and video game. The only thing Sonic related I'm not super knowledgeable in is the comics. So if that means anything to you, there's a lot of great things, they do, just live action wise that maybe it's just nice to see some of that in regards to Sonic. So we are going to move on to the main event, I suppose, the spoiler section of the potion. Here, I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, spoilers. Here we go. We're going to go through every scene. I'll try to make it quick. I don't want this video to be like an hour long. Opening scene. Immediately, Eggman. So it takes place. I guess it's not right after the last movie, but nothing of importance has really happened since the end of the last movie. So the opening scene, Eggman on the Mushroom Planet. He's getting tired of living there. They kind of make some jokes about Jim Carrey's like, oh, everything. He keeps making different types of mushroom tea, and it all tastes like garbage, and he's suffering there. And eventually, he's Eggman, so he comes up with some kind of device, whatever it was, activates it with electricity with the Sonic quill that he got from the first movie, and it creates a portal. And from the portal comes like those tribes, some type of tribes people. They definitely have like maybe the echidna mask or something. They're not echidnas though. And Eggman like sets all these traps up, right, and they knock him out. And his goal is to just go through the portal. But when he's about to consider going through that portal, Knuckles shows up. So he's there right off the bat. And that's when Eggman. They haven't technically made an alliance yet, but Eggman's just like, oh, you're looking for something called the Master Emerald. I think I know where it might be, even though I don't think Eggman actually knows it's there at the time. I don't recall. But he, opening credit roll or whatever, and there's your beginning. Nothing more to say about it, so that's what happened. The next scene, Sonic, he's kind of taken to being a hero at this point. This is where he's, the trailer jumps off the building, and they do like a little Run DMC. They play It's Tricky. It's kind of cool. And then which is where your Sonic Adventure reference comes in. He stops a gang of robbers. They do a little joke where like he just barely stops a car right before it hits a kid, and then the kid's like, and the ice cream falls off of his cone. Like, that hasn't been done a million times. No complaints at this point. Perfectly fine. Knuckles in character. Robotnik was fine. He was great in the first scene. Sonic makes some funny little quirks while stopping these robbers in the car. Tom reads the newspaper. He's got Sonic out on a boat after this happens, and it's revealed that Sonic kind of sneaks in and out at night to do hero stuff. He wants to be a hero. And Tom kind of gives him a scolding. I can't remember the line he gives him, but it's basically a great power comes great responsibility type of deal, right? And Tom Tom and his wife, they go on vacation to Hawaii. They're going to her, his wife's name's Maddie, right? They're going on vacation to Hawaii for her sister's wedding. I almost said birthday. And this is where you get kind of a fun scene. There's some fun scenes in this that it's like, could you have cut it? Yes, but it's also nice to see Sonic, like, kind of goofing off and doing his own thing, right? So everything up to this point, I'm really liking. Nothing's absolutely amazing. It's kind of standard stuff, but it's working for me, Haven't really hit a weak point, I don't think. So Sonic, he's at home doing the Home Alone thing, and then Knuckles and Eggman show up. And Sonic gets rocked. Like, this is where we see our first fight, and it gets better later on. But the first showdown between the two is just like Knuckles winning. Because Sonic just doesn't see it coming, and they do the thing in the trailer, do I look like I need your power? Whatever. And Sonic is kind of getting rocked, and he's like, well, I got you. This time he does the spin dash. Knuckles bops him down. And I forgot to mention they did show, like, I can't remember but somewhere in that beginning sequence, they showed the end credit scene where Tails shows up, and he's like, I'm looking for Sonic. He's here. The one notable thing about that, I will backtrack to that for one moment. What was really cool, and we'll see it with Knuckles later. Actually, not too much later. But when they showed Tails, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, he flies. And we haven't seen the other Sonic characters up until this point do anything. And when they showed Tails, like, he's like, Sonic's here, I gotta go find him. He starts flying, and he's super fast. Like, the way he flies is like, whew. It was a real quick, like, and I thought that was cool. I know it seems like a small thing, but it is cool from a Sonic fan standpoint. Like, they didn't just... in the games, it would, it makes sense that Tails and Knuckles should be able to keep up with Sonic to an extent. Sonic is the fastest one, but Tails was always able to keep up with him when he used his tails as a propeller. So that was kind of neat. Knuckles does the same thing in the next scene here. Well, he doesn't use a propeller, but he's just as fast, or, respectably fast compared to Sonic. So these are pretty powerful, creatures. So Tails actually saves him. Knuckles is rocking Sonic. Knuckles says, where's the Master Emerald? It's the ultimate power. And that's actually the moment when Eggman's like, oh, I could steal this thing. Because on the Mushroom Planet, he was just trying to get back to Earth and have Knuckles kind of, I guess, get him there. I don't know. Again, nothing too crazy up to this point. No complaints, blah, blah, blah. It's just standard stuff. I'm liking it. I'm liking all this so far. It's respectable to Sonic. It's not shitting on the games at all. This is how you do a video game movie. I'm really liking it. Is it copying the games to a T? Nope. I just don't think you can. This is probably the best they could do. We'll get to some of the weak stuff. I'll shit on it a little bit. We'll get there. So Knuckles says something to Sonic about the Master Emerald. Of course, Sonic is like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know what that is. And Tails actually saves him. He runs Sonic over with a truck. He runs Knuckles over. He hits him with a truck. Knuckles goes flying. And basically, Tails is just like, get it! And Sonic's like, I don't have a choice. I gotta, I guess he could have just ran away when you really think about it. Unless Tails would have got hurt, which I guess he could have, but he could have just run away. Whatever. So this is kind of the beginning of the race for the Master Emerald. So they have a little chase scene. This is where Knuckles gets to show his speed and his power, of course. He showed his power in the fight. He runs after their car, kind of bashes it in. They run off a cliff. And I can't remember if they teleport or they drove away. Whatever. Essentially, this leads Sonic and Tails. Again, I'm blurring some things. I'm trying to remember this from yesterday. But Sonic and Tails basically, they get to this garage of one of the police officers in Green Hills, which, if you remember, is where he lives. That's where Tom lives. That's the place that he polices. And one of the police officers, like, garage or something, and a hologram comes out that shows Sonic's, from the first movie, Longclaw, the protector of Sonic, the one who adopted him when he was a kid or whatever. And she was basically like, Sonic, I was training you to be the protector of the Master Emerald, which is really interesting. So that kind of works. And so Sonic and Tails basically are just like, hey, we got to go find this thing before those people do, because they just attacked us, and obviously Robotnik's probably up to no good, and blah, blah, blah. Next scene, or I don't know if I have these scenes reversed, actually, but basically they show a similar situation with Knuckles and Robotnik. So they kind of make a couple funny little jokes. You know, they make this joke like it looks like Robotnik's about to betray Eggman already, and Knuckles is like, I will tear them down, and then he realizes that Eggman is making a staircase so that he can get back up from the mountain from when they crashed off the cliff. So there's a lot of jokes. I haven't mentioned that yet. Yeah, a lot of jokes in this movie. Are all of them going to hit? Hell no. There is a shit ton of jokes. Like, it almost doesn't stop. But basically this leads to, Eggman, he wants the power right, and he leads he tricks Knuckles basically into working with him just like the games, and they go and they recruit Agent Stone. So you have Sonic and Tails versus Knuckles, Eggman, and Agent Stone. It's basically a race to see who can get the Master Emerald first. Sonic and Tails, I'm skimming a few things here. This leads them to Siberia, and this is our first scene. This is the first scene in the movie that was not only cringy, not really funny, it was entertaining. A little silly, and we get to know Tails a little bit. He says some things to, him and Sonic have a few moments, but they go to Siberia. They have this map that was with the hologram Longclaw gave or whatever, and it leads to Siberia. It's shitty outside. It's winter and blizzard, and so they go to this bar, I guess, and it's a place for them to take shelter for a bit, and they have they look adorable. They put on these little outfits so people don't realize they're Sonic and Tails, or they're like these little creatures. Why that matters, I don't know, because it seems like Sonic can just walk around everywhere else in the world and nobody gives a shit, but it was a cute scene nonetheless. And, not everything in this movie has or needs the explanation. It's, at the end of the day, it is a Sonic movie. It doesn't have to go crazy. This isn't Death Stranding where you explain every little bit, or like Kingdom Hearts where every little tiny thing has to be explained, Basically, they get into trouble in the bar. In order to get out of trouble, they have a dance-off. As this dance-off is happening, while it is entertaining, and I popped when they're dancing, and Sonic does the, actually I have it, he does this pose in the middle of a dance, which was really cool. So that was, I popped for that. Basically, at the end of the day, though, this scene really meant nothing. They didn't have to do the whole, we're in a storm, we got to take shelter, and then have a dance scene that literally what happens is they lose their map, and then they do the dance-off and get it back. I mean, it was the first scene in the movie that when I was watching it, it was kind of fun, but it was cringy. And two, it was the first scene that I was kind of like, you didn't have to have this at all. There is a nice heartwarming moment at the end that I think is important. Because when they win the dance-off, everybody in the bar is not hostile to them anymore. They're actually like heroes. Tails gets to show off a couple techie things, like when they're dancing, he creates a couple holograms, and I think he even does the thing. He does the thing where he picks Sonic up and he flies from the games too, which is cool. He does that a lot in this movie, by the way. there is a really nice, really cool, heartwarming scene where, like, Sonic and Tails are having a conversation. I think this is when Tails reveals this, that he came to find Sonic because he heard that Knuckles was after him, because Tails has been monitoring Sonic his entire life, basically, after the point in the first movie when Sonic ran around the bases and the thing exploded. That EMP, for lack of a better term, basically alerted Tails on his home planet. Only thing I didn't care about this is, like, I love that they gave some kind of explanation as to where Tails came from, especially at this point in the movie. You'd think, like, okay, because I haven't even said, like, why is Tails here and all that stuff. Yeah, it took him a little bit to get there. Basically, though, yeah, so, and again, I could be wrong as to when Tails said all of that. It could have been in the truck right before they, nah, that doesn't sound right. Whatever. He says all this at some point, so it's important I mention it, I feel like. And, you know, so he basically idolizes Sonic. He's just like, he sees him as a hero, even though Sonic is struggling to be a hero. Tails already sees him as a hero, which is pretty in line with the games. Again, see, a lot of this is lining up. I know it, like, you're like, well, none of that sounds like the Sonic. They kind of mush Sonic 2, 3, and Knuckles all in one story and then take a few liberties, but none of the liberties are really egregious. You know, that's what's great. They have a nice little scene where they're, like, at the fire inside of the bar, and Tails falls asleep, and he's kind of but Tails is fucking adorable in this movie, by the way. He is so goddamn adorable. Like, the CGI they used for him, it works so well. And Colleen, I think, is the best voice in the movie. Like, not just voice, but the acting. She's the best voice actress and actor in this movie. And Sonic, he's basically like, yeah, we are buddies, you know, and because Sonic is still kind of looking for friends, even though he has his family, like Tom and Maddie, and he puts a blanket over Tails. The CGI kind of had a weird clip, or so, I don't know if anybody else caught that, but yeah, it kind of like clips a little when he puts the blanket on him. Some of the CGI in this movie, I'll throw this in there right now, not great. There was a lot of CGI that was like, oh, that was kind of like jittery. Now, this movie is chock full of it, so I'm going to give it a few passes, and none of it was like super distracting, but there was a couple times where it was like, Knuckles looks like shit, or this or that. So a lot of the CGI wasn't, this was not top notch. It gave me like Black Panther vibes sometimes, or like, that's a great movie, but every now and then you were like, the CGI really took me out of it. So they sleep. Next morning, they get to this temple, which has a compass that leads to the Master Emerald, which is so weird that they have a map that leads to a compass that leads to the Master Emerald. Whatever. While Sonic and Tails are getting that, and by the way, that temple like looks so like there's Sonic references in it. I'm looking at the temple. I'm like, I feel like I've seen this stuff in the games, but I just can't like think of it. So there's just so many Sonic references in this movie, you know. There's a scene, I think, earlier when Knuckles was attacking Sonic and Tails, I forgot to mention, like, he punches through a truck, and the truck says Splash Hill Zone. I think, I didn't see this one, but a buddy of mine pointed out that, like, there's, like, a helicopter in the movie that says, like, SA2 for, like, Sonic Adventure 2, and it's, or something like that. It's, like, a gun helicopter. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't see that. The name of the coffee shop that Agent Stone runs is called the Mean Bean. So there's a lot of references. So this temple, like, I was looking at it, I'm like, it looks like it's a reference to maybe something in Sonic 2, 3 and Knuckles. It could have been any of the temple levels from any of the Sonic games. I have no idea. Nonetheless, they find the compass there. And Knuckles and Eggman obviously show up. They attack, and this leads to the snowboarding scene. So, you know, Sonic and Tails, they dip. They get out somehow. And this is where Sonic and Knuckles in the trailer were snowboarding down the hill. Basically, they pause their fight for a brief moment, and this is where it's revealed that Knuckles' tribe, which is extinct, again, in line with the games, is actually the rival tribe of Long Claws. So it's like owls versus echidnas or something like that. I don't know. It's nice that they gave a little bit of backstory there, and it actually did kind of set up something cool that Sonic and Knuckles are the last remaining members of their tribes, and they're like rival tribes. So it like kind of works to help give their fight a little more weight to it. But this is one of my issues with the movie is like that's kind of where the explanations end for a lot of that backstory stuff, and a lot of it is just kind of like, gosh, I don't even know if you needed to have some of that, or maybe you could have changed up a little bit, just because like I'm sure you needed some of it, but it was just kind of like that's it. Like, so, you know, they don't ever go into it again, even when, spoiler alert, in the spoiler section, Sonic and Knuckles eventually get along. They like never really bring that up again, that they're supposed to be part of this like rival tribe, you know. So that's a little odd. That's what I meant in the spoiler-free section where I said, yeah, some of the things lack explanation. Where was I? So basically, Knuckles starts to... This is where he starts to question things because the compass that reveals the location and unlocks the temple to the Master Emerald, Sonic has it, and he tries to throw it at Tails, and Tails gets hurt, and Robotnik catches it, and Sonic, instead of going to try to get the compass back immediately, he helps out Tails, and that was when Knuckles notices is like he helped his friend instead of basically grabbing the thing that unlocks the secret to the Master Emerald, right? So that was Knuckles. That was one of his first clues that something ain't quite right, and either way, Knuckles and Eggman leave as this avalanche is starting or whatever, and that's when Sonic and Tails have to ski down the hill, and this is the scene in the movie where Tom, who, by the way, I haven't even mentioned this yet. So while Tom's in Hawaii, some of the weakest scenes of the movie, you know, they every now and then go back to Tom in Hawaii, and they're showing like how he's at this wedding of Maddie's sister Rachel. Rachel is in the first movie. I think they tie her up or whatever at one point, and she's basically says a joke earlier where she's like, don't ruin this wedding or I'll kill you. Because she doesn't really like Tom all that much. She's trying to bury the hatchet with him, though. Tom is trying to get along with her husband-to-be. So he kind of, plays volleyball and stuff. So none of this really matters to their characters or whatever. But it gets a little worse in regards to the human stuff. We're almost there. We're almost to that part. Probably about halfway, if not maybe a little bit over halfway of this movie. So we're getting there. I said I didn't want this to be an hour. Damn it, I'm determined. So, Tom, basically does ruin the wedding, but he didn't have much of a choice. He he accidentally mixed up a teleporter ring that Sonic gave him with the wedding ring earlier. So he has to go up while they're about to put the ring on, and they said the vows and everything, and he's like in their way. He's like, give me the ring. I need the ring because Sonic's going down a hill. Literally, this avalanche is happening, and he calls Tom on the phone, which is in the trailer, by the way. It's really cool. Let me take a drink of water. But it's really cool. Like, his ringtone is like Green Hill Zone. It's like the original like version of it or whatever. Because Sonic's calling him FaceTime. Sonic's the one who's like, just throw the ring and we'll teleport through. And so they do, and all this snow comes out, and it kind of ruins the wedding. So Sonic and Tails are in Hawaii with Tom now. So this is where oh boy, this is the weakest scene in the movie. Rachel's wedding subplot up until this point, like I said, I haven't even mentioned it. I told you guys all the Sonic stuff, but there's little sprinkles of this wedding every now and then in between these points I just gave you. The weakest part is when everybody at the wedding is revealed to be gun agents. Like Sonic Adventure 2 gun agents. Which was cool that they're like, oh, gun agents. What is their name? Like, Generation United Nation? I don't remember. Whatever gun stands for. And they capture Sonic and Tails and Tom, because Tom punches Rachel's husband, who was also a gun agent. And then they do this whole subplot. Again, this is like the dance scene where the difference is this was not really entertaining. I was just like, move on, please, from this part. Dance scene, entertaining, a little bit more forgivable. This was like, they show up, and then they capture Sonic, Tails, and Tom. And Maddie and Rachel go to save them with Tails' tech, because Maddie notices Tails has, like, a little backpack. And they do, like, these jokes, like, it's kind of like the girls are beating up the guards kind of thing. And they do a couple little jokes, and the actresses did a great job. I just don't like that this whole scene was there to begin with. It didn't add anything to anything. It wasn't really funny. And I like Maddie. And the actress for Rachel is funny. Like, they got a couple chuckles out of me. Like, her acting was great. Basically, she's just like, I'm gonna get revenge on her husband because he was a gun agent and she felt betrayed, like he didn't really love me, although he did. And they could have just left it at that. They could have just left it at, like, the gun agent's betrayed, that the gun agent showed up, her husband betrayed her, and he's kind of an asshole. But they still tried to, like, he's like, but I actually do love her. And then the guy from the first movie, and I know he's in the first movie. I don't remember what he does, but he's the Olive Garden guy. He's like the leader of Gun. They actually call him that in this movie. They brought back the fucking Olive Garden plug-in. Not as egregious as the first movie, but still. And so he's like the leader of, Gun, and he's kind of being a dick. He's just like, oh, whatever, that we, ruined your wedding with Operation Catfish is what they called it. That's the joke. Like, oh, he catfished her. But, I know you still love her, but you shouldn't care, basically. And it's just, I'm going to cut to the chase. She gets her little revenge, I guess. I don't even know if you'd call it that, because they kind of get along, and he betrays Gun, and they tie up the agent or whatever. I don't know. I can explain why this scene didn't matter again. Basically, Sonic and Tails get captured. Rachel and Maddie go around beating the shit out of gun agents with various weapons and stuff. And then they free Sonic and Tails and Tom. Like, right away. It was like, why was that necessary? Like, none of that needed to be in the movie. Definitely, by far, I think most people are universally going to agree that that was the weakest part of the movie. And it took, like, 10 minutes. It's just like, oh my god. Just could have cut 10 minutes right there. 10 whole minutes. You could have cut it. So they're free. But Knuckles and Robotnik have already gotten to the temple. So they put the compass in. Sonic and Tails are free, and keep in mind too, after so at some point on the avalanche, Tails got knocked out. That was the scene where Knuckles is like, he went for his friend instead of the compass or whatever. So Tails has been knocked out up until like this point. So Sonic goes on his own because he doesn't have Tails, and he's like, I'm the only one fast enough to get to the Master, because they put the compass in, and you could see the beam of the Master Emerald like miles and miles and miles away. So Sonic's like, I'm the only one fast enough to get there, but it's just ocean, so he has to... It's funny, little quick story. I'll take a swig of water real quick. I was just telling a coworker, as a big Sonic fan, one thing that, I don't know if I'd say a pet peeve, it doesn't really bother me, but something that people do, kind of do the beam me up Scotty thing, how nobody actually ever said beam me up Scotty in Star Trek. It's just something the fans say for whatever reason. I was just telling a coworker 2 days ago, no, it wasn't even 2 days ago, it was yesterday before I saw the movie, that Sonic has never actually said gotta go fast. Now again, did he say it in the comics? Maybe. I don't know the comics as well. But I don't think he has. And I know he's never said it in the games, and I know he never said it in the shows. It just came from the Sonic X theme song, became a meme, and everybody just assumes that he said, gotta go fast. I think the younger audience especially, they're like, he says gotta go fast. I'm like, he doesn't. Well, he does here, so he finally said it. He says it in this, like when he's like, I gotta run across the ocean. There's only one way for me to get over there because I can't swim. They kind of established, like much like in the games, he can't swim. When he was on the boat with Tom earlier in the movie, he falls in. He's like, help, can't swim. He makes a joke and whatever. Tom helps him up. So he says, gotta go fast, and then he runs across the ocean. Doesn't end up making it. He actually still ends up getting swept up by a giant wave. But that wave, of course, takes him to the island. So at this point, Knuckles and Eggman. By the way, no Angel Island. The Master Emerald. I thought when they put it in, the light goes under the water, and then the beam comes up, and I thought, it's like, oh my God, they're gonna bring the island up, and it's gonna be Angel Island. I was a little disappointed, not gonna lie. It's just a temple. And again, I don't know if it's a reference to the games, but when you go in the temple, I think in the temple some of the traps were actually in the game, which was cool. But Robotnik and Knuckles find a way through the temple, basically. Get to the end of it, and Sonic speeds his way through, avoiding all the traps because he's just so damn fast. And Knuckles and Eggman have kind of cleared the way. It's a huge, maze, basically. And the Master Emerald is at the end of it. So, that was how Longclaw's tribe kept it in secret, is they had it on Earth, and then they had it in this place with a shit ton of traps so that people couldn't get their hands on it, because, and Sonic is the new guardian of it, or he's supposed to be. So Sonic and Knuckles fight for the Master Emerald, basically. And the fight scene, this is the fight scene from earlier was good. This one was short but sweet. They did a lot of neat things with the way that Sonic and Knuckles fight each other. Basically, Sonic and Knuckles, Knuckles uses power, Sonic uses speed. So at first it's kind of just, they do the thing in the trailer where they butt heads, but they do some cool things. I'm trying to remember, one thing in particular that was really cool was Sonic somehow gets Knuckles on the ground, and Sonic jumps up, and he does a air spin dash thing, and he goes bam, and he hits him again. He goes bam, 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 and he's knocking Knuckles underground. And they did some really creative things with the fights. They did a couple of really cool things with the fight later. We'll get to that too. So the fight is great. I'm not gonna lie. I'm it's great. I don't remember it, but I actually don't remember it good. But I just remember when I was watching it, being they did some really creative things with because you think how do Sonic and Knuckles fight? Did they just kind of punch each other? It's no. They made it interesting. You can run on the wall and then do a spin dash and then jump. Or I don't know, something like that. So in the middle of this, Sonic is turn around, Knuckles. Eggman is stealing your fucking emerald, you dumbass. You've been, And Knuckles is do you take me for a fool? And then he turns around anyways, and he feels betrayed. He's I thought Eggman was my friend, or whatever. So basically, Eggman actually does get the Master Emerald, and he gets the power from it, which is a little weird, because they make him do this, when Jim Carrey gets it, he does this kind of it's not only do they make a lot of jokes out of it, but he also has this voice that's like, it's like an auto-tune thing. I'm not even sure. Speaking of one thing that was fucking annoying, Eggman flosses at one point. I can't remember when, but whatever. I can't even remember when that was, but I just remember seeing that and being like, oh my god. Anyway, so Eggman gets away. He teleports to Green Hills because he has like all this power. And he teleports to the Mean Bean coffee shop, which there's another like small subplot where the cop who helped, and I can't remember his name, but he was actually funny. I thought he was pretty good. He's the one in the trailer who, when Sonic and Tails are like, this guy named Knuckles, he's like, I knew a kid named Knuckles once. He could fit his whole fist in his mouth, and if it's him, we are so screwed, or whatever. Like, that guy actually delivered his lines, as cheesy and corny as they were sometimes. He delivered them really well, I thought. But they had this other little short, very, very short subplot where he kind of took Agent Stone hostage. So, you know, Eggman, he teleports to the Mean Bean, and they kind of reverse roles. So now they have the cop hostage. Him and Agent Stone do. And, so they open the shutters to the coffee shop, and there's like an army outside. Well, it's Gun. Because basically they got Gun to believe that Sonic and Tails were the only ones that could stop Eggman. So they kind of are teaming up with Sonic and Tails for the time being, because Tom's with them, you know. So they go outside, and Tom and Eggman kind of talk shit about each other. And Eggman uses the Master Emerald to... I can't remember if this was in the game too, but basically they say that if you have the power of the Master Emerald, you can turn any thought you have into like reality. So he basically makes like a combination of like the Death Egg. I mean, it looks like the egg robot from Sonic 2 at the end of the game that is like on the side of the screen, and you have to jump to the top. It's a pain in the ass when you have 0 rings in that fight. And it's also like Sonic, I think it's Sonic and Knuckles, where it breathes fire out the noses and shoots missiles. It does a lot of shit. It's huge, too. Like, the CGI for it is huge. At this point, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles show up. They basically agree they're going to team up. And they play Pantera. I remember, like... So Eggman, like, he does, because he's having just a great fucking time with the Master Emerald, starts playing air guitar with his leg, and they play the song Walk for like 15 seconds. As cool as that song is, and as cool as a lot of the music they had when the dance scene is like they danced to Bruno Mars, and it was pretty cool. At this point, it was when I realized, though, it would have been nice to have some Sonic music in this movie. And I know that, I don't know why, that feels like a hot take. Like, I was seeing a couple weeks ago when people were asking for Crush 40, a lot of people were like, Crush 40 doesn't need to be at every Sonic thing. Y'all are being brats about asking for that over and over. And I was like, no, it's a Sonic movie. You can ask for Crush 40. I think you should. I think you should ask for a couple of the, if not Crush 40, like... Can we get... I don't know. They had hyper potions in the first movie, so it's not that crazy. Unless it was in the background, I completely missed it. I don't recall a single Sonic song in this whole movie. Not a damn one. The soundtrack is good, but it's still just like, okay, but Sonic has its own, like, meritable soundtrack. Like, every game, even the shitty games, have great fucking music. Sonic and the Black Knight, right? So... and if anybody were to say, like, well, it's too cringy or it's too butt rock or something, it's like, this whole fucking movie's cringe. Just cringe all over this. So I don't understand why that's such a hot take to ask for 1 or 2 Sonic songs. Just 1 or 2. By the way, there better be one in the next. We'll get there. I'll get there. So this scene is the highlight of the second half of the movie. This is fantastic. It may even be the highlight of the movie. Yeah, you know what? It totally is. I'm gushing right now. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, they're like fighting all the robots. You know, Tails is shooting lasers because he's got tech. Sonic is just kind of like doing some speed things, and Knuckles punching every single one that come at him. And they're kind of discussing a game plan, like how are they going to take this thing out? Because they basically came to the conclusion, if we work as a team, because Knuckles, so I forgot to mention that, you know, when Eggman gets away, Knuckles is drowning because he's stuck underneath of something in the water of the temple as it's collapsing when Eggman teleports away. Sonic saves him, and then, you know, Sonic can't swim, and Knuckles doesn't realize that, so he swims out, and then Knuckles swims back in and saves Sonic again. So Sonic blacked out in water twice in this movie, in like half an hour. And that was when, you know, Sonic says something to him, and Knuckles is like, I'm not in the mood to talk. And Sonic, you know, Knuckles is like, I don't know why you saved me, and Sonic's like, I couldn't just let you die. And that was when Knuckles kind of, you know, he's starting to kind of realize, like, what a real friend is. He doesn't really have, that's like the theme of this movie. Like, Sonic, well, he's got his family from the first movie, but he doesn't have a real friend. And even Tom, at some point, he's like, I wish Sonic had some buddies. And Tails, he mentions, grew up with no friends. Knuckles, he's been a loner. He's alone in his tribe. Actually, and I did forget to mention that too, like, Sonic's tribe killed Knuckles' tribe. They actually say that. He says this was when Sonic was fighting Knuckles at the house at the very beginning, when Knuckles says, where's the Master Emerald? Your entire tribe killed mine. I don't know how he knows that Sonic was part of Longclaw's tribe. Maybe they mentioned it. I don't know. Not everything in this movie got an explanation. I've already covered that. So, then we have, where was I? So, yeah, so basically, you know, Knuckles, he's kind of trying to be friendly, but they do agree on one thing. They all need to team up to stop Robotnik, because Knuckles wants that Master Emerald back, because he's really, as we know, he's really the guardian of the Master Emerald, even though Sonic was chosen to be. So they fight, do a lot of really cool things. They do the thing from the first movie where Eggman shoots all the missiles again, and Sonic does the slow motion where he's like dancing on the missiles, and so Sonic is kind of running around causing trouble for Eggman. Tails actually picks up Knuckles at one point and like throws him or something. There's just so many really cool things that even the Sonic games haven't done. Like one of the coolest parts, as they're all like, so after the scene where I said like Knuckles is punching Sonic is speed, Tails is shooting lasers, and they do like the Avengers thing where they're all standing in a circle and they circle the camera around. They all start running towards the death. I call it the death egg. Whatever it is, it's not the death egg. The giant Eggman robot. At the same time, and they're running after they came up with the plan, but they're still speaking to each other. And there's just some really cool like little effects they did. Like Sonic, there's one part where Knuckles like, he doesn't just punch a couple people like bam bam. He's like running while he does it, so it's just like a, you know, that's like my best like nerd impersonation of that. But that's what it looks like that. It's like, and it's real quick. That was fantastic. There's a part where Tails picks up Sonic, starts spinning in circles while Sonic is doing kind of like a spin dash, and they just like, you know, and they hit a bunch of robots, and it's just super high-paced action. This part of the movie was fucking hype, man. It was so good. This fight was so good. The Sonic and Knuckles fight was also, like I said, that was great too, but it was a lot shorter. This lasted a bit. Oh man, they did some really creative things with their powers. I loved it. And you know, eventually, like Sonic, I don't know, he's running around still. Tails finds a way inside of Eggman's death egg. He sees Eggman, and he creates a bunch of holograms of himself. Tails does. So Eggman can't figure out the real one. And he does figure out the real one, but then Tails is like, I'm just a distraction. So Knuckles is in there, and he punches Eggman, and the Master Emerald flies out of him. I don't know how that works, but it does. So the Master Emerald's now outside of the death egg. The robot is falling apart. Eggman regains control of it, but it doesn't have the same power it has now. It's just kind of like it is in Sonic Adventure 2, where it's very slow. And there's some cringy scenes with the robot too, while Eggman's having a good time in there. This is where the Jim Carrey stuff got a little too much for me personally. Like, I'm like, the movie's kind of serious at this point, and he's dancing in the robot or whatever. I don't know. There is one really cool little nod where Agent Stone says something about he has the manual to the robot in the manual was like a Sega Genesis like manual. It just has the robot as the picture, which was cool. So then we're almost near the end, I promise. I know. This really is going to be an hour, so I lied about that. I wanted to make sure I covered every little thing for this movie, though. I didn't want to miss a little, So, Master Emerald falls out. Sonic recovers it. Maddie and Tom save him. And when he recovers it, it shatters, and all the Chaos Emeralds fall out. So the Chaos Emeralds are inside of it. By the way, the Master Emerald in this movie, just like in the trailer, I thought maybe what they were going to do is, like, in the next movie revealed that wasn't the Master Emerald. It was just one Chaos Emerald. But no, because it was so small. But no, when the Master Emerald shatters, all the Chaos Emeralds fall out. And Sonic turns Supersonic, which was... Woo! I mean, he looked fantastic, first of all. And then, of course, you know how Supersonic fights, just like in Smash Bros. He just hitting all the things. So he's destroying this robot from inside out. And then Eggman's last line when Sonic... I think they made a reference to Sonic Unleashed there, too, like where he, like, kicks... I think that's Sonic Unleashed, where the last thing he does to the robot is he gives it a little, like, shoe tap, and the entire thing falls down. I think that's Sonic Unleashed. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. The opening trailer. I thought it was the opening scene in Sonic Unleashed where he, like, kicks a little thing and a robot, and it, like, falls. Anyway, Eggman's last line is "Later, haters," which was just, Jesus. Again, a little too silly at that point. Like, at this point, Eggman should be pissed, right? But whatever. Kids movie. Grown man complained about a Sonic movie. So, basically, and Knuckles, they make one last little joke, which I actually did. This got a laugh out of me. Knuckles is like, "Wait, Tom," like, because Tom and Maddie are gonna go hug Supersonic, and he's like, "No, Tom, you can't, because Sonic is not the way you once knew him." And Sonic, like, summons a giant lightning thing, and a chili dog comes out of the sky, which was funny. And he's like, "Never mind." So that got a kick out of me. I'm just going through my notes one last time. Basically, the last scene, Knuckles joins Sonic and Tails. They're all like one happy family, and they do this really nice. I liked it a lot. They got this really nice moment where. Oh, actually, one more thing I forgot to mention. They pulled a Donald Trump reference, which was really weird. When Jim Carrey, before Sonic does the shoe tap thing, and before he says "Later, haters." He says, like, "Can't we just let bygones be bygones? There was bad people on both sides," which it was like, I can't believe they threw that in there. But okay. Anyway, so Knuckles, they have a nice moment where, Sonic, he's playing baseball like he is in the first movie, but now he has a family. So Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, they're all playing baseball with Tom and Maddie, and they basically are just like friends now. They're making small talk. Knuckles is like, "Oh, what is ice cream? I want to try ice cream," and blah, blah, blah. So I mentioned that he's like kind of stupid in this movie. He's not stupid in the Sonic Boom stints. He's smart. He's gullible still. Much like in the games, he's always been gullible. But Knuckles is supposed to be like the smartest one. They kind of give him the excuse in this movie, the Goku excuse. Like, he's stupid because he doesn't know Earth culture. So he just... he's naive to their culture, basically. So I'm like, I'll give it a pass, but it's not my favorite version of Knuckles. The best version of Knuckles is like Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic X, where he's like really smart, he's cautious of things, and whatever. Then we have the end credits. I can't move this Sonic anymore. I could expand him because this is like major spoilers, as you would probably know. Some of you might know the end credits. Some of you don't. I get emotional. Basically, I'm going to try not to get emotional. Basically, the gun agents are going around the area, right, where the aftermath of the battle. And they basically reveal, like, Eggman is nowhere to be found. So he's out there, right? And one of the gun agents goes up to the I am getting emotional. One of the gun agents goes up to the Olive Garden leader, the captain guy. Still can't remember his name. And she says something like, there was one other thing we discovered. You know where this is going. And she basically is like, we discovered that there was a project that was 50 years ago, Project Shadow, and the thing comes up, and they show the motherfucker. I'm like, at the time in the theater, I was not this emotional. I was excited. Now, keep in mind, I was one of the people who was like, I kind of want them to take their time. I kind of want like to do Metal Sonic first, and then maybe Chaos, but maybe Shadow after Metal. But seeing it now, it makes a lot more sense. First of all, we don't know how many of these movies we're gonna get. Pull the trigger on Shadow now. Get it in. Second of all, you could still do the Shadow. You can have Shadow fight against Chaos, or even the giant Metal Sonic from Sonic Heroes if you want to. It'll be a little different from the games. That's fine. So that being said, again, at the time I wasn't like emotional, but I was excited. When they said the, Project Shadow thing, I already knew it, but I was like, are they gonna show him? And they have the thing from Sonic Adventure 2 where he's kind of coming out of the ground there because they had locked him away, right? Because he's too powerful. And he's chained up. So they show him. He looks good. He looks really good. I was like, oh, man. That's going to be that's a big deal. And the moment they showed him, I'm sitting in my seat, and I hit my seat, so I was like, there he is! Like, shit, they did it! I was so excited. I started fist bumping friends, and because obviously that's something that it's just a big deal. So I get emotional. Sonic Adventure 2 is and the first game are two of the most meaningful games of my whole life. So to see, Shadow is the biggest representation of Sonic Adventure 2. He was the big, Rouge is new in that game too. I don't know if we'll get Rouge in these movies. That being said about all of this, to end my review here, I kind of forgot they haven't done, because somebody said something like, yeah, then they totally skipped Amy, and I was like, oh my god, I like Amy. I'm not an Amy hater, because I grew up with Amy, even though she can be annoying. But I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yeah, she totally was not missed. Like I that sounds really bad, but I was just like, yeah, I didn't even think about that. They don't have her. I do want her in it still. But I didn't even think about that. Like, we got Shadow before Amy. That is silly. Nonetheless, I really liked it. I really liked the ending. I overall loved this movie. Despite its cringe, despite its couple flaws. The one thing for me, the one thing I wish it was a little shorter. And I know I complain about movies being long too much. But no, seriously, the wedding scene and maybe the dance scene. Keep one entertaining scene, not, So, there you go. Sorry it took so long. I really this movie, I wanted to cover every little aspect, so this is like a super long review. But I appreciate all of you watching. Maybe I'll even split up. I'll do like the spoiler. I'll split it up a little bit, like spoiler free, and then the spoiler section, so it just cuts up the video a little bit. But go watch it. Definitely go watch it. Give your own, opinion and take. We'll see what the Knuckles show. We'll see if the Knuckles show can give us more explanation to that tribe backstory. Which I'm not gonna excuse the movie for that, because it's like, even though maybe it does, it still hurts this movie by not having some of that. So, but anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy the movie. I hope you see the movie. We'll see what Shadow brings in the next one. I don't even know if Eggman will be in it. I know they're kind of dealing with Jim Carrey potentially retiring right now, and they said they didn't want to recast him. So I was like, are you gonna have a movie where it just Shadow's the antagonist? Because that might, I don't know about that. But we got gun agents, we have Shadow, we're already going into Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, one last thing though, for the people who are like, there shouldn't be Crush 40 in this movie, or they're like, it's not that big a deal. All right, you're going into Sonic Adventure territory. I better hear Live and Learn. I swear. Like, I got to hear at least one Crush 40 song in the next movie. Right? Can we get that, please? Especially, like, Johnny deserves it too, but especially Jun Sonoe. He's been working with Sega and Sonic games even longer than, like, you know, Crush 40 really. Like, they deserve it. So, like, and the fans... You know, all those people that are saying, like, oh, you don't really need it. If they played Live and Learn, they'd be in tears. I'd be in tears from just childhood nostalgia if Sonic and Shadow go hyper, super, whatever, in the next movie and they start playing that fucking song. So give me a break on that. I'm hoping we get at least one Crush 40 song, maybe a little bit more Sonic music. I know it's a nitpick, but in the next movie, I feel like it won't be a nitpick to at least ask for a Crush 40 song. Anyway, thanks for watching my review, guys. I hope to see you later. I'm not a movie channel, so, you know, I'm mostly a gaming channel. So if you're hoping for more movie reviews, probably don't worry about subscribing, because unless it relates to, you know, video games, I probably won't. We'll see. Otherwise, if you're into video game content, you know, you can hit the sub button. I also on Twitch, twitch.tv/BroccoClock. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. I will see you all later.